Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I am Arjun Chowdhury. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Friday, the 6th of November. Underworld Don Chhota Rajan deported to India in CBI custody. India-China agree to enhance bilateral cooperation. And Bollywood raises suspense with thriller Charlie Ke Chakkar Mein this weekend. And now for all the details. India's fugitive underworld Don Chhota Rajan has been deported to India. He was arrested by Indonesian police in Bali last month, decades after he fled India.
Indian gangster Chhota Rajan, who was on the run for almost 3 decades, was brought to New Delhi in the wee hours of Friday after being deported from Indonesia, where he was nabbed last month. Rajan now is in the custody of Indian Federal Police Central Bureau of Investigation and will face trial in several cases registered against him in Delhi and Mumbai.
और सारा केसेस जो है सीबीआई के हाथ में ट्रांसफ़र हो गया, तो उसमें हम लोग बयानबाजी उसको खुलासा करेंगे, क्या क्या करने जा रहा है ये सब को बताएंगे, तो वो केस में हैम्पर होगा, इसलिए उसको स्मूथली आगे चलने देना चाहिए.
Rajan's custody is crucial for the Indian government as he is expected to cooperate and disclose information about the most powerful underworld mafia, Dawood Ibrahim, and his links with Pakistan's intelligence agency, Inter-Services Intelligence or ISI.
अब वो देखते हैं, पहले तो उनको देखना पड़ेगा पोजीशन क्या उनके केसेस की, कितनी दम है, कितने लोग विटनेसेस हैं, कितने मारे जा चुके हैं. फिर इसके अलावा जो मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट केसेस सुनने पड़ेंगे. सबसे ज़रूरी चीज़ इसको लाने का फ़ायदा यही है कि एसोसिएट था दाऊद का कितना बताता है, यानी कि कुछ ज़्यादा इन्फॉर्मेशन दे भी दे जिससे कि उसकी मदद हो सके पकड़ने में.
The 55-year-old gangster is wanted on murder charges, drug trafficking, extortion and arms smuggling. He was declared wanted by Interpol in 1995.
Meanwhile, Chinese Vice President Li Yuanchao on Friday met Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in capital New Delhi to discuss issues of bilateral and regional importance. Both the leaders agreed to boost ties in sectors including culture and water resources. Vice President Li is on a 5-day visit to India. He is the second topmost Chinese leader to visit India after Prime Minister Narendra Modi assumed power last year. President Xi Jinping had visited India last year. Calm prevails in Nepal's southern town of Birgunj, where an Indian citizen was killed earlier in the week during Madhesi protest against the new constitution. Amid on and off curfew, the area remains tense.
The Madhesi protesters are determined to oppose the new constitution adopted by the government of Nepal. The protesters claim that their concerns had not been addressed by the Nepalese government while dividing the country into 7 federal states. According to them, the new charter fails to reflect their interests. Earlier on Tuesday, curfew was imposed in the Nepalese border town of Birgunj.
हजुर बिरगंजको अवस्था त धेरै गम्भीर छ. यो बन्दीको कारण हामीहरु बाहिर निस्कन पनि पाएको छैन. यसले जसले पनि कर्फ्यू लगाइदिन्छ. यो हामीहरु दरङ गरेर हामीहरु घरमा बसाइदिन्छ. अब के गर्ने, हामीहरु खाना पनि पाएको छैन. बाटोमा घुम्दै छु, बन्दी गर्दै छु. हामीहरुको माग चाहियो.
Protesters blamed the main political parties of Nepal for the mess.
होइन, यो नाकाबन्दीमा बसेको लगभग 47 दिन जति भयो हाम्रो, र आन्दोलन भएको लगभग 82 दिन जति भयो. र यी सरकारले यी चाहिँ माग किन सम्बोधन गर्न सकेको छैन, यी मधेसलाई हेर्ने सरकारको दृष्टिकोण के छन्, ती नेपाल सरकारलाई र नेपाल सरकारभित्र भएका गठबन्धन एमाले कांग्रेस माओवादीलाई नै थाहा छन्. अर्थात् नेपालमा मधेसका जनताहरूले मागेका मागहरू जाज हो.
The town appeared calmer after violent protests earlier in the week, during which an Indian citizen was killed. India has also expressed concern over the rising violence and ethnic discrimination in Nepal at the United Nations in Geneva.
In neighbouring Pakistan, the death toll in Lahore factory collapse crossed 30 as more bodies are pulled out of the rubble on Friday. Rescue workers continued search operations despite fading hopes of survivors. Over 100 laborers who were trapped under the debris have been pulled out. The under-construction building in Lahore's industrial area was already declared dangerous after the 7.5 magnitude earthquake hit the country last month, killing hundreds of people. But workers continue to reside in the factory. Moving on to Afghanistan. Afghanistan is seeking military assistance from India to fight the Taliban insurgents. The deal indicates Afghan government's decision to re-engage with India, marking a major shift in its search for allies other than Pakistan. A report.
Afghanistan is set to obtain 4 Russian-made Mi-25 helicopters from India to help in its fight against the Taliban, which has stepped up attacks in the country. The deal is set to be finalized during Afghan National Security Advisor Muhammad Hanif Atmar's visit to India this weekend. The agreement would be India's first defense deal with Afghanistan since the two countries signed a strategic partnership agreement in 2011. Atmar is also likely to discuss training of Afghan special forces in counter-insurgency academies in India. Afghanistan has seen a spike in Taliban-led violence recently after the death of its longtime Supremo Mullah Omar was confirmed. A series of bombings which Afghanistan claims were plotted on the soil of Pakistan, followed by the Taliban's brief capturing of Kunduz, have prompted it to strengthen its defense capabilities.
The US Department of Defense has stated that it is no longer conducting counter-terrorism operations against Taliban militants in Afghanistan, as it views the militia as instrumental in the Afghan peace process. Although the US-led NATO troops ended their combat mission in the war-ravaged country last year, its presence in the country has been extended in the wake of rise in Taliban insurgency. The statement comes as the Afghan peace process remains in a limbo due to leadership crisis within the Taliban. Afghanistan has been torn by decades of war with Taliban insurgents. Growing unemployment is leading to frustration and unrest among the youth in Gilgit-Baltistan. Locals say the Hafizur Rahman government has failed in addressing the issue due to its lopsided policies.
Acute poverty, burgeoning unemployment and pervasive corruption are making life difficult for locals in Gilgit-Baltistan. Locals say that the new government of Hafizur Rahman has not been able to improve the social infrastructure, pushing the people of Gilgit into poverty. Former president of AJK Supreme Court Bar Association, Raza Ali Khan, says even educated youth are sitting idle at home, as very few government jobs are available and there is no industrial activity.
आज़ाद कश्मीर और गिलगित बल्तिस्तान दोनों में पाकिस्तान की निस्बत इसकी तादाद कहीं ज़्यादा है, एजुकेशन रेट ज़्यादा है और लोग बेरोज़गार भी ज़्यादा हैं नेचुरली, तो ये तो फ्रस्ट्रेशन का बायस है.
Khan also said that corrupt bureaucrats were offering government jobs to undeserving people due to their personal contacts, leading to an ineffective administration.
मेरिट पे लोगों को नौकरियां नहीं मिल रही, और जो मैंने पहले गुजारिश की कि जब आप इनडायरेक्टली लोगों को अख्तियार देंगे, वो अपने लोगों को आएंगे, तो ये ना तो गुड गवर्नेंस हो सकती है, ना मेरिट हो सकता है, और ना ही लोगों को फिर उसके उनके राइट्स मिल सकते हैं, इंक्लूडिंग उनको जो मुलाजिमत हैं जिनका हक है. तो गिलगित बल्तिस्तान में तो मैं पिछले अरसे में गया, वहाँ पे तो बहुत सारे केसेस ऐसे रिपोर्ट हुए हैं जहाँ पाकिस्तान से लोगों को भर्ती करके भेज दिया गया.
People in Gilgit-Baltistan, which was annexed by Pakistan illegally, have been waiting for years for a better administration that could work for the region's development. But their disappointment has grown into anger as the administration shows no political will to improve the situation.
Activists held a protest march with symbolic coffins in Bangladesh capital Dhaka against the recent killings of secular writers, bloggers and publishers in the country. 4 secular bloggers have been killed this year alone for writing critically about Islamist militancy.
Activists of Bangladesh's Jan Jagran Manch, or the People's Resurgence Platform, on Thursday took out a rally against the killing of secular bloggers and asked the government to bring the attackers to justice. The procession was joined by several hundred activists from political, social and cultural organizations. The protesters, demanding an end to religion-based politics, marched to the offices of Interior Ministry. They were, however, stopped by police nearly half a kilometer from the Secretariat. Last month, Faisal Arifin Deepan, owner of Jagrati Publications, was killed and 3 others injured in Dhaka. Deepan was publisher of slain blogger Avijit Roy. Militant group Ansar al-Islam has claimed responsibility for the attack in social media, but police suspect Ansarullah Bangla team, which has in the past attacked secular bloggers.
Indians are upbeat ahead of Diwali, or Festival of Lights, and equally excited are the local firecracker makers, who are hoping to make it big this time.
Hindus across India are gearing up for Diwali, or the Festival of Lights. And amid the festive preparations is the firecracker industry, which is hoping to make it big. With the government banning import of firecrackers from China, the Indian pyrotechnic manufacturers are hoping for good business this year. Chinese brands have always dominated the firecracker market in India. Indian workers say this time they have tried to be more innovative and are trying to match buyers' demands.
हमारे पटाखे नहीं बिक पाते थे और हमारा माल ही नहीं बिक पाता था, तो फिर हमने अपना पटाखा बहुत बढ़िया करके नए तरीके से पटाखा बनाया, बढ़िया आइटम। तो अब हमारे पटाखों काफ़ी डिमांड है, चीन के पटाखों से ही बढ़िया डिमांड है हमारे पटाखे की।
Diwali is celebrated with great fervor and gaiety all over India. Households are beautifully decorated with lamps and lights. It is also celebrated in honor of Lakshmi, the Hindu goddess of wealth and prosperity. Diwali will be celebrated next week in India.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. Underworld Don Chhota Rajan deported to India in CBI custody. India, China agree to enhance bilateral cooperation. And Bollywood raises suspense with thriller Charlie Ke Chakkar Mein this weekend. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time next week. Have a great weekend and good night.